Hi, my name is TJ Hoza. I'm a physical therapist at the Recovery Project here in Livonia, Michigan. I am head of the PEN program, that stands for Progressive Effective Neuro Rehab, and that is our spinal cord injury program that we have here at the Recovery Project. Charlie, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Charlie Parkhill. I'm one of TJ's clients. I have a spinal cord injury. I've been complete C4 or 5. I also happen to be one of the owners of the Recovery Project, so I've been doing this a while. And I've been working with TJ probably about a year now.
Another thing we want to add too is, after you watch this, make sure you share this post with friends and family after the conclusion of the video. So now if you guys want to ask us some questions, we'll kind of open it up for that.
Can you tell us a little bit about the PEN program?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the PEN program, it stands for Progressive Effective Neuro Rehab. So that's our spinal cord injury here at the Recovery Project. That's kind of our bread and butter. This company kind of started with Charlie, and he could tell more of his story. But when he suffered a spinal cord injury while on vacation in Mexico, was told he would never walk again, came across Polly, who's our other CEO. She was doing cutting edge stuff at the time, and she got him to take his first steps. And it was at kind of that moment that Charlie realized that he wanted to help other people kind of with his condition and make sure he gave them the resources they need, because everyone deserves a chance to get their life back after a spinal cord injury. So out of that, developed the Recovery Project and the Spinal Cord Injury Program. And over the years, we've kind of, developed it and kind of changed it a little bit. But at this point, no matter what insurance you have, if you come in here and you have a spinal cord injury and you're motivated enough, we make sure we develop a specialized and customized program that fits your needs. That's PT, that's OT, that's speech, that's training, that's massage. So we come at it at all angles, and we don't stop until you get kind of your quality of life back.
Yeah, the PEN program is a natural progression of what Polly started when she came. These were all her ideas at a time when people weren't thinking of intense therapy. For spinal cord, Polly was doing it and starting it even before we started the Recovery Project. She started it with me individually. So she founded this program, found the concepts around the country. We were the first doing intense. We then came to realize that not everybody with a spinal cord injury need an intense program like this, so we refined that into now for the people that do need that kind and can handle that kind, they now fall into this new PEN program.
Okay. We have one question. It says, Charlie, what activity in your therapy program has made the most change in your function?
Well, I think I'll probably answer that into just the year I've been with TJ. So I was coming off a bit of a setback from an injury, so what he was doing was getting me on functional stimulation equipment to recover from that injury at first. And then since then, he's been trying to strengthen my core, and we're doing a lot more on my core than I've ever done. So between the FES and then the core training, we've now gotten back into the point where I'm back to walking unassisted over land, which we had to take a break from until TJ could get me back in shape here.
Okay. Charlie, we have another question for you. What was the hardest part of adapting to life with a SCI?
Probably just the fact that you had no control over an awful lot of things going on around you, and there's an immediate loss of confidence. And confidence means everything. When you're confident, you can work harder and get around obstacles. So it's hard to get over that. You immediately have that loss of confidence because you have no control over your situation and you can't do anything for yourself, and you're relying on a lot of people to help you out. So that was the hardest thing to get through.
Okay. TJ, what is the latest science on recovery from an SCI?
Well, there's a lot of science out there to begin with, and before I get into the different science out here, we pride ourselves on not only being up to date on the latest science, and that means we we read articles, we go to conferences, but we also make sure we're implementing those different sciences properly. And a lot of the science out there really, as Charlie mentioned, it is pushing towards this idea of functional electrical stimulation. So you put these electrodes on your body and it stimulates your nerve, that stimulates your muscle, and it kind of bypasses where the injury is. So that allows you to maintain kind of your muscle girth, your skin integrity, which protects against pressure sores, also helps with bone density. Some of the other science out there is body weight support training. So we put you in something called a light gate system, and it kind of unweights you, and it allows you to kind of lift your feet up better. And there's been a lot of carryover to overground walking with that. And then that's kind of more where the therapy science is at, but there's also on kind of the pharmaceutical front of things, there's a lot of promising research out there about stem cells. Actually, Rutgers just made it open for human trials of a certain kind of stem cell that actually comes from your umbilical cord. So that'll actually be the first human trial here in the States for that. They've done a human trial outside the States that was really promising. The other thing, and this will be the last thing I mentioned, is an epidural stimulator where they actually put it inside of you, and it kind of bridges that gap where your injury is. And there's been a lot of people who've gone without bowel and bladder or sexual function for 5 or 10 years, and they actually are able to regain it because of this epidural stimulator. So that's the other thing too, real quick, the autonomic function, the sexual function, the bowel and bladder that, you know, people maybe don't like to talk about, or it's uncomfortable, but it's very, very important to people. Almost more, it's up there with walking. So we got to make sure we're addressing not just strength and walking and this and that, but all aspects of a person's life.
Okay, for TJ, what is the most rewarding part of your job?
Oh man, when you someone walks in and they, you know, a lot of times they're told one thing from someone from before, either, you know, you're only gonna get this far, you know, which, you know, the science supports the fact there's no such thing as a plateau, first and foremost. I don't even say that word here. You know, to me, if someone's plateauing, that means that there's an issue either with their motivation, what they're doing at home, or with their intervention. But I love when they're told one thing and we get them doing that thing that they were told they would never do again. So, and I'm not just talking, you know, like be able to like lift their arm up against gravity. I'm talking, you know, taking steps for the first time. And this is more head injury, but people even talking for the first time when they were never supposed to talk again. So, you know, seeing those sorts of things happen, you know, honestly, it brings tears to your eyes. There's been times where there were, you know, just tears in the gym because people were doing things that they were told they would never be able to do again.
Wow. We also have another question for Charlie. What motivates you to keep doing therapy and exercise each day?
Well, I'm going to start the answer to that by going back to the last question to me, was what were the things that were hardest to get over? And the way I got over them was through physical therapy. You start to gain confidence back. When people started working with me and Polly started working with TJ, you start to gain that confidence back that you can do some things. And when your body physically starts to react, that gives you the confidence too. So that builds and builds. So what was the question?
What motivates you to keep doing the therapy?
To continually get better, like TJ says, the word plateau or maintenance is not in my vocabulary. I want to, you know, I have not been in the hospital. I've been injured 21 years, and I have not been in the hospital for a single day due to my injury. And I believe that's because of keeping up the therapy and keeping motivated. So it's to keep me healthy, but to keep me productive and to be able to do the things I do in life, which is help keep this place going and help take care of the 600 people we're taking care of now and the thousands we're taking care of. My motivation is to keep in this game and keep contributing to this whole organization and keeping myself better.
Okay. The next question, what is the difference between a complete and incomplete spinal cord injury?
So I won't get too technical about this because there's different, they call them ASIA levels, and it really comes down to if you have sensation kind of around where your rectal sphincter is. Basically where you have a bowel movement. Basically the motor and sensory function of that. So if you have that, you're considered an incomplete. But if you don't have that feeling of when you have to go to the bathroom, then you're considered more of a complete. So that's more like the technical definition, but kind of more in general, a complete is somebody who really doesn't have any sensation or function below their level of injury. So say someone got hurt at the chest level, that means they don't have any feeling or function in their legs. Whereas an incomplete, they typically have partial function in their legs. So that means maybe they're able to kind of kick one leg out a little bit, but maybe not so much the others. So kind of on a broader scale, that's kind of more what complete versus incomplete means.
Let's give a show and tell on that. My level is C4, C5. If I was complete, I could do this, and I could do this, right? I am incomplete. I can do this, I can do this. I don't know if you can see my legs, but I can do that. That's the difference.
Okay. And then how often should a person with spinal cord injury have therapy per week?
And this kind of goes back to why we changed the program to be more of a progressive. So I just had somebody come back with 2 years of bed rest, right? Well, having them go 5 days a week would just be way too much. It'd be nice to get him there, but we got to kind of gradually get there. So we typically start, 2 to 3 times a week, but especially right after an injury, you want to, especially once everything is stabilized, where they've repaired your spinal cord, you want to be try to be getting up to 5 days a week of, what we call intensive therapy, and different disciplines, OT, some people it's speech, because if it's a high enough injury, you might have issues with speaking, swallowing, that sort of thing, and then physical therapy. So it's not like everyone should be doing this many, you know what I mean? It's very customizable, but at the end of the day, dosage is very important. Even like with functional electrical stimulation, even doing it twice a week versus 3 times a week, the research shows that there's a significant difference. So we really try and push people to be doing it at least 3 times a week, whether that's inside of therapy or outside of therapy.
Okay. So, Charlie, who's your favorite therapist of all time?
Of all time?
Of all time.
If I don't say Polly, I'm lying.
Oh, man. It's making me uncomfortable now. I'm kidding.
Now ask who's my favorite therapist right now.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
This guy should run for office.
So with spinal cord injury, and based upon different clients that you've had, what is probably the most difficult? Incomplete, complete. What's the most difficult to actually help with regarding therapy, or is there?
I'll go first, and I'll answer this a couple different ways. The hardest part to me is motivation. So if someone doesn't have the motivation, it's hard to help them. And that's been a tough pill for me to swallow as a physical therapist, because I want to help them so badly get their life back. But if they don't want to get it back, then you know what I mean? It's not going to happen, plain and simple. In terms of complete versus incomplete, I would say, complete, the higher up the level, the harder it is, because it's a little more difficult for them to do some of the things that, say, Charlie can do. So,
what do you normally look for when you're actually trying to create a plan for someone who has a spinal cord injury regarding like therapy? What kind of plan do you kind of create for them?
So it's kind of multifaceted. It's actually going back to the evidence. It's basically around 10 or 11 different categories that we hone in on that are all in the research. So balance, gait, cardio, strengthening, range of motion, respiratory, ADL, so that's activities of daily living, what they're doing on a daily basis, recovery time. So all these different elements go into the program. And some people might need a little bit more of one than the other. Like we had one individual, he was fully ambulatory, able to walk. His main issue was bladder control, so pelvic floor. So that was kind of the area we maybe focused on a little bit more with him. So, but we try and address all those different categories that the research supports. But it ultimately goes back to what their goals and biggest needs are.
And then, can you talk a little bit about the benefits of FES?
Yeah. Do you want to go first to say kind of what you feel like FES is done for you personally, or I can go first to say what the science says. And
Go ahead with the science.
yeah, so the science, and I kind of talked about a little bit earlier, when kind of how FES works is you have this, so people are probably familiar with TENS, so if you have low back pain or neck pain, you know, they put some electrodes on you and then turn it up to sensory level so you kind of feel kind of a buzzing. Well, this is you turn it up even more to motor level stim, as we call it, and it stimulates the nerves, it stimulates the muscles. So you'll actually see, for instance, the quad fire to the point where you can extend your knee. So what you're doing with that is by stimulating the nerve that stimulates the muscle, you're promoting muscle bulk, blood circulation, you're helping with bone density, range of motion, and kind of a more functional aspect of it is, say somebody who's walking, say they keep catching their foot, they're dragging their foot, well, you can actually stimulate a particular muscle that can help clear that foot better. And there's something even called trigger stim, so you can actually press it and it can help clear their foot. There's even something called the BioNest that you can actually wear that can help stimulate the necessary muscles that can allow you to walk better. Does anything want to add?
For me, I think the FES, it just gives me, it builds strength faster. I get more strength in a shorter amount of time spending on it. And for me, the way TJ's got it set up for me makes it a real challenge. So we do intervals, and we're always trying to do better and better, put out more power today than we did yesterday, and he's always nudging me along to do more. So I take things as a challenge and really try to wear me out by the end of the day. But that translates not only just to walking around the clinic, which is great that we're walking, but all the functional things I have to do at home, like getting in and out of bed. Very importantly, getting from a shower chair into this chair that I'm able to stand from that shower chair and take steps over to get into this chair. And that's a big deal. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a big deal and helps in getting dressed and all this. So it keeps me in shape and keeps me moving so that I can do functional things.
Yeah, just to maybe give you a little bit of imagery, I'll take this water bottle here and say my bicep, I can only lift it up this much. Well, if you put some electrodes on my bicep, I'd be able to raise it up and actually bring the water bottle to my mouth and be able to sip from the water bottle. So that's just to kind of give you some functional context of how STEM can be utilized to actually improve someone's. You thirsty, by the way?
Sure.
Yeah.
Wait, I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. So now, what has been maybe the most accomplishment that you would say that you've had, Charlie, since therapy for your SCI?
Well, I'm going to answer that two ways. Like a physical accomplishment, the biggest was in the years when I first started walking completely unassisted. This is with no walkers, no canes, no AFOs, no devices, no people. That was huge for me, because everyone with spinal cord injuries told they're not going to walk. So when you do that, you really feel something good. So that was great. And even in sessions now, every session, if I can set a personal best at something, I'm happy about that. But moreover, it's just to be able to have been living a productive life and have that confidence and to be able to be part of something that's as great as this, and just feel like I've got a full life. It all comes from the therapy.
Okay. I think we are all out of questions. Is there anything else that you guys might want to add with regards to spinal cord injury?
Don't give up. Like TJ says, everybody's going to tell you what you can and can't do. You need to take it to the point that you know you're doing everything you can and can't do, and there's great resources out here and people that are very knowledgeable to help you get there.
Yeah, and I guess the last thing to kind of go along with that is be your own advocate. Unfortunately, you sometimes hear people say, "Oh, I didn't know like places like this existed," and we do our best at marketing ourselves, but be your own advocate, get what you need, because it's out there, and insurance or different things will make you fight for it, but continue to be your own advocate and get what you deserve.
One last question. What do you look for in a good caregiver?
Obviously compassion, understanding the injury that you're dealing with, because taking care of someone with a spinal cord injury is much different than taking care of, say, an elderly person or anything else. so knowledgeable. In the case of somebody with spinal cord injury, there's a lot of physical work that goes on, so the person has to be fit, physically fit. And so understanding the injury, being compassionate to the person, and being physically able to handle the capabilities.
Okay. Cammie Roy Atkins says, looking good, you two. Charlie, your progression over the years has been so inspirational to watch.
Thanks, Cam.
Okay. Well, that concludes our segment. Again, is there anything else? Can you let them know to make sure that they're sharing it?
Yep. And again, guys, please share this with family and friends, because the more people you share with, the further reach we can have, and the more people we can help.
Great.
Sure.
Thank you.